How you doing, pals? I don't know why I thought of that. You know, the whole world is burning around me, and I'm quoting Home Alone for some reason, for those of you that actually got that. But I hope you all are doing great, and I have a review of the Odin for you. World of Warships was kind enough to give me one to test. We've had one final patch before it goes out the door, and I think a lot of you are aware of this patch and the changes that have happened to the Odin. A lot of you probably are a little upset about it. There's been some balance changes to its main guns, and the main battery reload has increased from 20 to 23 seconds. And 3 seconds is a pretty big deal when you're talking about something that's reloading at 20 seconds, but there are some good aspects to these changes. Secondary battery firing range has increased from 7.5 to 7.7 kilometers, giving you the ability to have a full spec of 11.6 when you add everything to your secondaries. So you basically got battleship secondaries, tier 8 battleship secondaries, which makes sense because Odin is a tier 8 battleship. Secondary battery reload time has been reduced for both the 128mm and 150mm secondaries, so that's another good thing. Continuous AA damage got a slight buff from 249 to 258. But on the flip side, medium range was reduced slightly, and long range was increased slightly. So, kind of a mixed bag right there. I don't know how much a difference that will make, but the important takeaway is there have been changes, and this ship will be coming out imminently. It's coming out soon. So, you're probably going to want to know why you don't want this ship. You're probably going to look for a reason to hate it. And I'm not really going to give you one. For what it's worth, I actually found ways to enjoy this ship, both in this iteration and the prior iteration. So what I'm going to do for this review is I'm going to give you some of the statistics of this battleship. After that, I'm going to give you some pros and cons, how I think you might enjoy this ship, and how I know you won't enjoy this ship. So, first and foremost, Odin, tier 8 battleship, right up there with the Tirpitz and the Bismarck, though it has much smaller main batteries. 305mm. That makes the batteries the exact same size as the tier 9 cruiser Ager's main batteries. So yes, they are on the very small side, and that's what makes this battleship unique. Another thing that makes this battleship unique is that you don't have a ton of hit points, 52,800 to be specific, which makes sense because you're basically sitting on a Scharnhorst body. And you might have recognized that because the ship is dead sexy. It's absolutely beautiful. I already covered the secondaries of the ship. You can get them up to 11.6 kilometers, so this is a secondary battleship. But again, your armor kind of negates that ever so slightly. Torpedoes, you've basically got the same torpedoes as the Tirpitz. They're 6 kilometers. These are launched in spreads of 4 on each side. The firing arcs are actually pretty decent on them, at least I find them to be, and the torpedoes fly at 64 knots. Of course, you can always add to that with the module. Anti-aircraft defense isn't horrible. It's not that spectacular, it's kind of middling, but I didn't find any issues with it, and I was kind of left alone to my own devices. Maneuverability, 31.5 knots with Sierra mics, turning circle radius of 790 meters, which, not bad at all. I mean, once again, very similar to the Scharnhorst. You're not a big, lumbering walrus. You're pretty nimble for a big ship. Rudder shift time is 14.1 seconds. And lastly, concealment, you're looking at 12 kilometers when you add everything. So those are the statistics of the ship. Now let's talk about how this ship handles and situations that I think you're not going to like this ship. First and foremost, I don't think you're going to like this ship if you're pitted against tier 9 and tier 10 ships. The guns are just kind of lackluster in that sense. In fact, I really wouldn't want to play this ship continually being bottom tiered. I just wouldn't. Especially, as I said, when you have cruisers at tier 9 on the German side that have the exact same size main guns. Adding to that, you have a very small hit pool, and I'd much rather be in a Bismarck or a Tirpitz in a tier 9 or tier 10 battle. So I think that's the biggest shortcoming of this ship right now. And the increase in the main battery reload doesn't help. When seconds matter, adding those seconds does not help, especially when you're trying to put rounds down range. Now, situations in which I think you're going to like this ship. If it's straight tier 8s, I think you'll find ways to have fun in this ship. If you're top tier, I think you're going to find a lot of ways to have fun in this ship. And really, the way I would view this ship, I would not view it as a traditional battleship. This is more of a fast raider. If you're in a tier 8 battle, or if you're top tiered, this ship is just one that you get in and you go. You fly. You don't stop. You are the tip of the spear. You push forward. And that's where you have a lot of fun in this ship. Now, ways I would not use this ship, I don't think it's a good ship to engage against multiple battleships. You need to try and avoid that at all costs. However, one-on-one, this battleship against other battleships, I would actually be scared if I was the other battleship. If an enemy battleship decides to push against you and is one-on-one and you're in this ship, guess what? Unless it's a Tirpitz, they're probably going to lose. And the reason being is that those torpedoes of yours are pretty darn good. And despite your shells only being 305 millimeters, up close and personal, they will wreck face against other battleships. So woe be an enemy battleship that decides to take you on one-on-one. So when you find a singled out enemy battleship, don't be afraid to push, even if he has a cruiser escort, because you can easily make quick work of the cruiser with your guns. In fact, this ship excels at taking out cruisers. That's what I would primarily use this ship for, taking out cruisers. So push enemy battleships if they charge you, and you will do pretty well. On the flip side, woe be the enemy battleship that decides to back up against you because they don't want to push. Maybe you've got your team with you and they're pushing, and the battleship just decides he wants to back up. Well, he thinks you're probably going to slow down or do what battleships normally do and stop and start slinging shells from a distance. Nope, just push them. You've got those 11.6 kilometer secondaries. They're going to start popping off, and then once you get into range, again, light them up with your torpedoes. This ship can be a lot of fun, up close and personal. This ship can be tons of fun. Your armor isn't horrible, despite the fact that you have a limited amount of hit points. Once again, you're a German ship, and you've got trollish German armor. So some ships are going to think they're going to absolutely wreck you, citadel you, and they're going to find that when they fire at you, weird things are going to happen, and they're not going to get the hit points they thought they were going to score on you. And that's kind of the saving grace when you brawl with other ships in this ship. So, is this ship a brawler? In certain circumstances it is. Once again, great secondaries, lots of fun, somewhat fast, somewhat maneuverable, in its own tier and tiers below, yeah, definitely fun. Bottom tier though, oh, this ship would be a hard pass for me. I don't think I could find fun even if I wanted to. So this ship is kind of a mixed bag. It's a very situational ship. And while I will say it sucks that the main gun reload was nerfed, overall, I don't think that aspect hurts this ship too much. I think some players are going to find a lot of enjoyment out of this ship. I think a lot of other players might not like this ship just because those main battery guns, while they are somewhat large, they're just not battleship large. And they're going to find that when they attack battleships, they're just not doing the damage that they would want to do. And I can understand that. I mean, if you're in a battleship, you're expecting battleship type of damage. But don't think of it that way. Think of this ship as a cruiser hunter. If you do that, you won't be disappointed. And again, if you find that singled out battleship, that one battleship you can get the jump on, that's when this ship is even more fun. You see those secondaries start popping off at range against that and any other smaller ships that might be trying to attack, and then you just push the sucker, you launch your torps, and you decimate them. And that's where this ship shines. I don't want to call it a YOLO ship, but YOLOing in this ship can be a lot of fun. So hopefully you all can find some enjoyment in this ship if you've been looking into it. If you have any interest in this ship whatsoever, I think you can find fun in it. You know, overall, if I was going to grade this ship, I would give it a solid 7 out of 10. It's a solid ship. It's not horrendous. I wouldn't even say it's mediocre. I wouldn't say it's good. It's not great. I think it's situational, and I think you can have a legitimate amount of fun in the right situations in it. A lot of ships are that way. Plus, it's just beautiful. It's a beautiful looking ship. So, anyhow, guys, let me know what you think about Odin if you are interested in it. And I might have one to give away in the future if Wargaming gives me one. I'm not sure. Can't make any promises, but we will see in the future. Thanks for watching. Take it easy. Zoop out.